The ship had left 3 months ago. Yuna still remembered watching it disappear into the purple sky, carrying the last humans back to Earth. She had chosen to stay. Someone had to be the ambassador, and she had volunteered with such confidence. Now that confidence felt like a distant memory. The Valori homeworld was beautiful in ways that hurt to look at. Twin suns painted everything in shades of gold and violet. The forests grew sideways, their branches reaching toward the horizon instead of the sky. The rivers flowed with water so clear that Yuna could see fish swimming at the bottom, fish with too many eyes and scales that sparkled like diamonds. But beauty did not cure loneliness. Yuna walked through the central colony, her small human frame moving between the Valori like a child among giants. They towered over her, most standing at least 8 feet tall. Their bodies were covered in thick fur that ranged from silver to deep brown. Their faces held features that reminded her of wolves and bears mixed together, with large golden eyes that seemed to glow in low light. Their ears were enormous, always moving, always listening. The Valori were kind to her. They always greeted her with soft, rumbling sounds from their chests. They made sure her food was prepared correctly, without the spices that would burn her human tongue. They gave her the nicest quarters in the guest building, with windows that faced the twin sunsets. But kindness was not the same as connection. Yuna entered the dining hall and found her usual spot in the corner. The table was too tall for her, built for Valori bodies, so she sat on a stack of cushions that the colony had provided. Even then, she barely reached the proper height. She felt like a child sitting at the adults' table. The hall was loud with conversation. Valori families sat together in groups of 10 or 15, their voices creating a symphony of growls, purrs, and clicks. Cubs ran between the tables, chasing each other and tumbling over adults who did not seem to mind. The little ones would sometimes stop near Yuna and stare at her with wide, curious eyes before their parents called them back. Ren appeared at her table, carrying 2 bowls of the evening stew. He was her assigned liaison, responsible for helping her understand Valori culture. He had brown fur with patches of white around his eyes, and one of his ears had a small notch in it from some old injury he never explained. "You are eating alone again," Ren said. His voice was deep but gentle. He sat across from her, and the table suddenly felt smaller with his massive presence. "I eat alone every night," Yuna said. She tried to smile. "It is fine. I am used to it." Ren's ears rotated toward her. A sign she had learned meant he was paying close attention. "You say you are used to it. But being used to something does not mean it is good." Yuna stirred her stew. It was delicious, as always. The Valori were excellent cooks, but tonight it tasted like nothing. Everything tasted like nothing lately. "On Earth," she said slowly, "I had friends, family, people who would sit with me and talk about nothing important. People who would touch my shoulder when they walked past, people who would hug me when I was sad." She paused. "I did not realize how much those small things mattered until they were gone." Ren tilted his head. "You miss physical contact." "Yes." The word came out smaller than she intended. Humans need touch. We need closeness. Without it, we start to feel. She searched for the right word. "Empty. Empty," Ren repeated. His golden eyes studied her face. "Like a den without pack members. Maybe. I do not know what that feels like for you." Ren was quiet for a long moment. Around them, the dining hall continued its loud celebration of family and food. A cub squealed with laughter somewhere nearby. 2 adults touched foreheads in greeting. A group of teenagers groomed each other's fur while they talked. Everyone touched everyone, all the time. It was constant and natural and so ordinary that the Valori probably never thought about it. Yuna had thought about it every single day for 3 months. "Tell me more," Ren said, "about human loneliness." Yuna set down her spoon. She was not hungry anymore. "It is hard to explain. Humans are social creatures. We evolved in tribes, in families. We are not meant to be alone. When we are isolated for too long, something inside us starts to break. We become sad, tired, sick. Sometimes. Our bodies actually hurt from the lack of connection. Ren's ears pressed back against his head. In Valori body language, this meant distress. Your body hurts? From loneliness? Not physical pain. More like an ache. Here. She pressed her hand against her chest. It feels heavy, like carrying stones inside your heart. This is terrible, Ren said. His voice had dropped to almost a whisper. I did not know. We did not know. It is not your fault. How could you know? Your people are never alone. You sleep in piles. You groom each other. You touch constantly. Yuna laughed. But it was a sad sound. I have watched your cubs play. They climb all over each other. They fall asleep in heaps. They have never known what isolation feels like. Ren reached across the table. His massive paw, warm and soft with fur, covered her entire hand. The touch was so unexpected that Yuna froze. I am sorry, he said. I did not mean to startle you. No. Her voice cracked. No. It is okay. It is. Nice. They sat like that for a moment. His paw over her hand, and Yuna felt something loosen in her chest. It was such a small thing. Such a simple gesture, but she had not been touched with kindness in 3 months, and suddenly her eyes were burning with tears. She refused to let fall. Ren noticed. His ears swiveled forward with concern. Yuna, are you unwell? I am fine. She pulled her hand back and wiped her eyes quickly. I am just tired. I should go to my quarters and sleep. She stood up from her cushions and gathered her things. Ren stood too, watching her with those glowing golden eyes that saw too much. Yuna, he said as she turned to leave. You said you feel isolated. How isolated? She stopped. She did not turn around. Very isolated, Ren. Very, very isolated. Then she walked away, out of the warm, noisy dining hall and into the cold, quiet night. She did not see Ren's ears pin back with worry. She did not see him abandon his own meal to seek out the elder mother. She did not know that in Valori culture, admitting to isolation was not a small thing. It was a cry for help, and the Valori always answered. Ren moved through the colony with purpose. His large feet barely made sound on the stone pathways, a skill all Valori learned as cubs. The twin moons had risen, casting silver light over the buildings and gardens. Most families had retired to their dens by now, curled together in warm sleeping piles, but the elder mother never slept early. She was always the last to rest and the first to wake. He found her in the garden behind the main hall, tending to the night-blooming flowers that only opened under moonlight. Her fur was silver with age, and her eyes had faded from gold to pale amber, but her mind remained sharp as a hunter's claw. Elder mother, Ren said, lowering his head in respect. I must speak with you about the human. The elder mother's ears turned toward him, though she continued her gardening. The small one. Yuna. Yes, I am worried about her. Now the elder mother stopped. She set down her tools and turned to face him fully. Tell me. Tell me. Ren explained what had happened in the dining hall. He described Yuna's words, her sadness, the way her eyes had filled with water when he touched her hand. He told the elder mother about human loneliness, about how their bodies actually hurt from lack of contact. The elder mother listened without interrupting. When Ren finished, she was silent for a long time. The flowers around them released their sweet scent into the night air. She said she feels very isolated. Ren said, Elder mother, in our culture, those words would be a serious matter, the elder mother finished. Yes, I understand, but she is not Valori. Perhaps I am overreacting. Perhaps humans do not mean the same thing when they speak of isolation. The elder mother shook her head slowly. You heard her describe the feeling, the ache in the chest, the heaviness like stones, the need for touch that goes unfulfilled. Her pale eyes met his. Does that sound different from what our people feel when separated from pack? Ren's ears flattened. No. It sounds exactly the same. Then we must treat it exactly the same. The elder mother began walking toward the nursery building, and Ren followed. The nursery was where the colony's cubs lived and learned together. It was the heart of Valori society. Because cubs were considered everyone's responsibility, every adult was a parent to every child. They entered the main room, where dozens of cubs slept in great piles of fur and warmth. The smallest ones were tucked in the center, protected by larger cubs who wrapped around them. The air was filled with soft purring and the occasional sleepy mumble. The night watcher, a young female named Sora, rose to greet them. Her fur was spotted with unusual patterns of gray and white. Elder Mother. Ren. Is something wrong? We need to speak with the cubs, the Elder Mother said. All of them. Sora's ears perked with surprise, but she did not question. She moved through the sleeping piles, gently waking the children with soft touches and quiet words. The cubs stirred and yawned, their small faces confused but curious. Within minutes, they were all sitting in a circle around the Elder Mother. Some of the youngest ones leaned against older cubs, still half asleep. Others watched with bright, alert eyes, eager for whatever news had brought the Elder Mother to them so late. Little ones, the Elder Mother began. I need to tell you about our human guest. Her name is Yuna. You have seen her in the colony, yes? The cubs nodded. Several of them made small sounds of recognition. She is very small, one cub said. His name was Teho, and he was known for stating obvious things. Yes, she is small, the Elder Mother agreed. But that is not why I am here. I am here because Yuna is suffering, and she needs our help. The cubs went still. Suffering was a word they understood. It was a word that meant action was required. What kind of suffering? Asked a female cub named Mira. She was older than most, almost ready to leave the nursery. Isolation sickness, the Elder Mother said. A ripple of distress moved through the group. Even the youngest cubs knew what isolation sickness was. It was taught to them from birth. Part of the most basic Valori knowledge. A pack member who was isolated would wither. Their spirit would fade. Without intervention, they could lose the will to live entirely. But how can she be isolated? Teho asked. She lives in the colony. She is surrounded by people. Being surrounded by people is not the same as being connected to them, the Elder Mother explained. Yuna is far from her home, far from her family, far from her kind. And humans, like Valori, need physical closeness to be healthy. They need touch. They need warmth. They need to feel that they belong. She does not have a pack, Mira said softly. She is alone. Yes. And she has been alone for many months. The cubs exchanged looks. Several of them began to whimper with sympathy. One very small cub named Jiwoo crawled into the lap of an older cub, seeking comfort from the sad news. Can we help her? Jiwoo asked. His voice was tiny and serious. Can we be her pack? The Elder Mother smiled. It was a gentle expression that made her aged face look young again. That is exactly what I came to ask you. Yuna needs pack healing. She needs to feel warmth and closeness and safety. The question is whether you are willing to provide it. Of course we are, Mira said immediately. The other cubs nodded in agreement. She is a guest in our colony. She is our responsibility. She is very small, Teho said again. We will need to be gentle. Very gentle. The Elder Mother agreed. Humans are fragile compared to us. You must not jump on her or be rough. You must move slowly and be soft. We can do that, Jiwoo said. We are good at being soft. Ren felt something warm spread through his chest as he watched the cubs discuss among themselves. They were already making plans, deciding who would go, and when, and how many. There was no hesitation in them. No question about whether they should help. To them, it was simply what one did when a member of the community suffered. There is one more thing, the Elder Mother said, and the cubs fell silent. Yuna does not know you are coming. She might be surprised at first. She might not understand what is happening. You must be patient with her. Let her feel that she is safe before you sleep. We understand, Mira said. The other cubs echoed her words. The elder mother nodded with satisfaction. Then, tonight, after she has gone to sleep, you will go to her quarters. You will do what comes naturally to you. You will surround her with warmth and presence and love. You will show her that in this colony, no one is ever truly alone. The cubs began to purr. It was a sound of agreement and determination and joy. They were being given a mission, and it was the best kind of mission possible. They were being asked to help someone by doing what they did best. Being together. Being warm. Being pack. Ren watched them prepare, and for the first time since his conversation with Yuna, he felt hope. The human did not know what was coming. She did not understand how seriously the Valori took such things, but she would learn. By morning, she would learn. Yuna could not sleep. She lay on her bed, staring at the ceiling of her quarters. The room was comfortable enough. The Valori had provided soft bedding and temperature controls, and even a window that showed the twin moons rising over the sideways forest. But comfort did not bring rest. Not when her mind would not stop circling. She kept thinking about what she had said to Ren. The words played over and over in her head. Very isolated. Very, very isolated. Why had she said that? Why had she let him see her weakness? Ambassadors were supposed to be strong. They were supposed to represent humanity with dignity and grace. They were not supposed to cry at dinner tables because someone touched their hand. Yuna rolled onto her side and looked at the moonlight streaming through her window. On Earth, there was only one moon. She had grown up watching it change from full to crescent and back again. She had made wishes on it as a child. Now she had 2 moons to wish on. And neither of them felt like home. A sound outside her door made her sit up. She listened carefully. The colony was usually quiet at night, but this sound was different. It was soft. Shuffling. Like many small feet moving together, Yuna climbed out of bed and walked to her door. She pressed her ear against it and heard nothing. She waited a full minute, holding her breath. But the silence continued. Imagination, she told herself. You are tired and sad, and hearing things that are not there. She went back to bed, but sleep would not come. Her mind drifted to memories of home. She thought about her mother's cooking, the smell of rice and vegetables filling their small apartment. She thought about her father's laugh, deep and warm like rumbling thunder. She thought about her sister, who had cried at the spaceport and made Yuna promise to come back safely. She thought about friends, game nights and movie nights and nights where they did nothing but sit together and talk. She thought about hugs that lasted too long and shoulders to lean on, and the simple knowledge that people cared. 3 months. It had been 3 months since anyone had held her. 3 months since she had felt the warmth of another person close to her. 3 months since she had belonged somewhere. The loneliness pressed down on her chest like a physical weight. She curled into a ball, pulling her blankets tight, trying to pretend they were arms wrapping around her. They were not arms. They were just blankets. Eventually, exhaustion won. Yuna's eyes grew heavy, and her breathing slowed. She drifted into the shallow sleep of the deeply tired, where dreams and reality blurred together. She dreamed of shadows. Outside her quarters, the cubs waited. Mira led the group. She was the oldest and the most careful, and the other cubs trusted her to know when the moment was right. They had watched the light in Yuna's window go dark. They had counted the minutes, waiting for the human to fall asleep. Now they moved in silence toward her door. Remember what the elder mother said, Mira whispered. Slow and soft. Do not wake her until we are settled. The cubs nodded. Their eyes glowed faintly in the moonlight, reflecting like small stars. There were 12 of them in total, ranging from Mira's near-adult size to tiny Jiwoo, who was barely old enough to walk steadily. Taeho pushed open the door. It was not locked. The Valori did not have locks on their doors, because they had never needed them. Everyone in the colony was family. The cubs flowed into the room like water, silent and smooth. They had been trained from birth to move without sound, a skill that had once helped their ancestors hunt prey. Now they used it for a gentler purpose. Yuna lay curled on her bed, small and alone. In the moonlight, she looked even smaller than usual. The cubs could see her face, peaceful in sleep but marked with the tracks of dried tears. They could smell the sadness on her, a scent that made their hearts ache. Mira directed the others with small gestures. 2 cubs climbed onto the bed first, settling on either side of Yuna's feet. They moved so carefully that the mattress barely shifted. Then more cubs followed, finding spaces along her legs, her arms, her back. Jiwoo was last. He was the smallest, so he got the most special spot. He climbed up and settled against Yuna's chest, right above her heart. His tiny body fit perfectly in the curve of her curled form. One by one, the cubs began to purr. The sound was low and constant, a vibration that filled the room like a warm blanket of noise. It was the sound Valori made when they felt safe and content. It was the sound of pack, of belonging, of love. Yuna stirred in her sleep. Her brow creased slightly, and she made a small sound of confusion. But she did not wake. The warmth surrounding her, the weight of small bodies pressing close, the vibration of purring that she felt through her skin, all of it combined to pull her deeper into sleep instead of pushing her out. Her body relaxed. The tension in her shoulders eased. Her curled form slowly unwound, spreading out to accommodate the cubs who had claimed her. Mira watched from her position near Yuna's head. The human's face had changed. The sadness was still there, but something else was appearing too. A softness around her eyes, a loosening of the lines on her forehead. The beginning of peace. "It is working," Teho whispered from his spot near Yuna's knees. "Of course it is working," Mira whispered back. "Pack healing always works." The cubs settled into their positions, their purring synchronizing into a single continuous sound. The room grew warm with their collective body heat. Yuna was completely surrounded now, buried under a pile of soft fur and small hearts. Outside the window, the twin moons continued their slow journey across the sky. The sideways forest swayed in a gentle breeze. The colony slept. Families curled together in dens throughout the buildings, and in one guest quarters, a human who had been alone for 3 months was alone no longer. Jiwoo pressed closer against Yuna's chest. He could hear her heartbeat, slow and steady. It was a different rhythm than Valori hearts, but it sounded healthy. It sounded like something that wanted to live. "Do not worry, small human," Jiwoo murmured, so quiet that only his closest neighbors could hear. "We have you now. You are Pack." The other cubs purred their agreement. Morning was still hours away. When it came, everything would change. But for now, in the silver moonlight, there was only warmth and weight, and the simple truth that the Valori had known for thousands of years. No one should ever have to sleep alone. Yuna woke slowly, drifting up from the deepest sleep she had experienced in months. Her mind felt foggy, wrapped in cotton. Something was different. Something was very, very different. She was warm, not just comfortable warm. She was surrounded by warmth, pressed against her from every direction. There was weight on her legs, weight on her arms, weight on her chest. She could feel something soft against her cheek, something that rose and fell in a gentle rhythm, breathing. Something was breathing against her face. Yuna's eyes snapped open. A small furry face filled her vision, barely inches from her nose. Large golden eyes blinked at her with innocent curiosity. A tiny pink tongue emerged and licked her cheek. Yuna screamed, or she tried to scream. What came out was more of a strangled squeak, because her lungs could not fully expand with all the weight pressing down on her. She tried to sit up, but her body would not move. She tried to push with her arms, but they were pinned against the mattress. Panic seized her heart. She could not move. She could not breathe properly. She was trapped. "Do not be afraid," a voice said near her ear. "You are safe. We are here to help." Yuna turned her head as much as she could. She saw Mira, the older cub she had noticed in the dining hall a few times. Mira's large eyes were calm and reassuring. What? Yuna gasped. What is happening? Why are you? Pack healing, Mira said simply. You told Ren you were isolated. The Elder Mother sent us. Yuna stopped struggling. Her brain was trying to catch up with the situation. Cubs. She was covered in cubs. Valori cubs. At least 10 of them, maybe more. Piled on top of her, and around her like she was a piece of furniture. Pack healing, she repeated, her voice weak. Yes. When a pack member suffers from isolation sickness, the rest of the pack provides warmth and presence. It is how we have always cured such illness, but I am not. Yuna started to say she was not part of their pack. She was a human, a visitor, a stranger. The tiny cub on her chest lifted his head. His name was Jiwoo, though Yuna did not know that yet. His golden eyes were huge and serious. You are pack now, Jiwoo said. His voice was very small but very certain. The Elder Mother said so. Yuna stared at him. She stared at the other cubs, who were watching her with expressions of concern and hope. She felt their warmth seeping into her skin, felt their purring vibrating through her body, felt their hearts beating against her in a dozen different places. Something inside her cracked. It was like a wall she had built, brick by brick. Over 3 months of loneliness. A wall that had kept her standing, kept her functioning, kept her pretending she was fine. That wall cracked, and then it crumbled, and then it fell entirely. Tears spilled down her cheeks. The cubs did not panic at the tears. They had been told that humans cried when they felt strong emotions, and that it was not always a bad thing. Mira had made sure everyone understood before they came. Are you okay? Taeho asked from somewhere near her feet. Are we hurting you? No. Yuna managed to say through her tears. No. You are not hurting me. You are. She could not finish the sentence. The sobs came instead, deep and raw, rising from a place she had kept locked away for so long. Jiwoo pressed closer against her chest. His small paws kneaded gently, an instinctive, comforting motion that Valori cubs used with their mothers. He began to purr louder, and the other cubs joined him, creating a wave of sound that wrapped around Yuna like a blanket of noise. She cried. She cried like she had not cried since she was a child. She cried for her mother and father and sister. She cried for her friends back on Earth. She cried for every night she had spent alone in these quarters, staring at unfamiliar moons, and feeling like she might disappear entirely. And through it all, the cubs stayed. They did not leave. They did not pull away. They pressed closer. If anything, surrounding her with more warmth, more weight, more presence. It is okay to cry, Mira said softly. The sadness needs to come out. That is part of healing. Yuna did not know how long she cried. Time lost meaning in that small room, buried under a pile of furry bodies. But eventually, the tears slowed. The sobs became hiccups. The hiccups became shaky breaths. And finally, there was silence. Not empty silence, full silence. The kind of silence that exists when you are surrounded by living things that care about you. Yuna reached up with one freed arm. The cubs had shifted to give her space and touched Jiwoo's head. His fur was incredibly soft, softer than anything she had ever felt. He leaned into her touch and purred harder. Thank you, she whispered. Her voice was rough from crying. I do not know what to say. Thank you. You do not need to say anything, Mira replied. This is what Pack does. When one suffers, all help. But I am not Valori. I am human. So? Taeho said with the directness of youth. You live here. You eat here. You need help. That makes you Pack. Yuna laughed. It was a wet, wobbly laugh, still tangled up with leftover tears. But it was real. The first real laugh she had produced in 3 months. You make it sound so simple, she said. It is simple, Jiwoo said. He had not moved from his spot on her chest. Complicated is for adults. Cubs know the truth. If someone is alone, you sit with them. If someone is cold, you warm them. If someone is sad, You stay until they are not sad anymore. Yuna looked at his small, serious face, and she felt her heart do something strange. It expanded. It grew. It made room for these small creatures who had invaded her quarters without permission and refused to let her be alone. How long will you stay? She asked. Mira tilted her head. How long do you need us? It was such a simple question. And the answer was so obvious that Yuna did not even need to think about it. A while, she said. I think I need you for a while. The cubs purred their agreement. Outside, the twin suns were beginning to rise, painting the sky in shades of gold and violet. A new day was starting, and for the first time in 3 months, Yuna was not facing it alone. The news spread through the colony before the twin suns reached their peak. The human had been healed. The cubs had done their duty. Ambassador Yuna was no longer suffering from isolation, sickness. Ren heard the news from Sora, the nursery night watcher, who had checked on the cubs at dawn and found them still piled on the human's bed. Yuna had been awake, she reported, stroking the cubs' fur and speaking to them in soft tones. She had been smiling, actually smiling. Ren felt the tension leave his shoulders. He had worried all night about whether they had done the right thing. Humans were so different from Valori. What if their cure had made things worse? What if Yuna had been frightened or angry? But Sora's report erased those fears. The human was healing. The pack had helped. He found the elder mother in her garden again, tending to her flowers in the morning light. She did not look up when he approached, but her ears turned toward him. I already heard, she said before he could speak. The cubs did well. Yes, elder mother. Ren paused. I must confess something. Speak. When Yuna first arrived, I did not understand why she was sent. Humans have a reputation in the galaxy. They are known as warriors, survivors, conquerors. They spread across stars faster than any species in recorded history. Other races fear them. He hesitated. I expected her to be strong, unbreakable. I did not expect her to need us. The elder mother finally looked up. Her pale eyes held ancient wisdom and gentle humor. And what have you learned? That strength and need are not opposites. That even the mightiest creatures require connection. Ren's ears drooped slightly. That we should not make assumptions about anyone, regardless of their species' reputation. The elder mother smiled. Good. That is an important lesson. She returned to her flowers. Now go to her. She will need guidance in the days ahead. Ren found Yuna in the central courtyard, surrounded by cubs. She sat on a low bench, and the little ones had arranged themselves around her like planets orbiting a sun. Some sat in her lap, others leaned against her legs. Jiwoo had claimed his favorite spot against her chest and showed no intention of ever moving. Yuna looked up as Ren approached. Her eyes were still slightly red from crying, but her face had changed. The heaviness was gone. The shadows that had lurked beneath her expressions had lifted. She looked like someone who had woken from a long nightmare to find the morning bright. Ren, she said. Her voice carried warmth it had never held before. I suppose I have you to thank for this. I only reported your condition to the elder mother. Ren replied, sitting nearby. The cubs did the real work. They certainly did. Yuna laughed as Taeho attempted to climb onto her shoulders. They have not left my side since last night. I tried to get breakfast, and they followed me in a group. I went to wash my face, and 2 of them waited outside the door. They take pack healing seriously, Ren said. Once they have decided someone belongs to them, they are quite stubborn about it. Yuna's expression softened. They decided I belonged to them. Yes, after one night. After one night, Ren confirmed. That is how it works. Need creates bond. Bond creates pack. Pack creates family. It happens quickly when the need is great. Yuna was quiet for a moment. She looked down at Jiwoo, who had fallen asleep against her heart. His small chest rose and fell with peaceful breaths. His paws twitched slightly, dreaming of whatever cubs dream about. On Earth, she said slowly, humans are taught to be independent. We are taught that needing others is weakness. We build walls around ourselves and call it strength. She paused. I built such high walls. I thought I had to, as an ambassador. I thought I had to prove that humans could stand alone, that we did not require help from anyone. And now? Ren asked. Now I think that was foolish. We are social creatures. Humans. Just like the Valori. We evolve together, live together, survive together. Our entire history is built on cooperation and connection. She smiled sadly. But somewhere along the way, some of us forgot that. We started treating independence as a virtue and interdependence as a flaw. Mira, who had been listening quietly, spoke up. That sounds very lonely. It is. Yuna agreed. It is very lonely. And I did not even realize how lonely I had become until last night, when I woke up unable to move because 12 cubs had decided I needed to be saved. She laughed again. And this time, the laugh was pure joy. I was so scared at first, and then I was so grateful. And now, I am. I do not even have words for what I am now. Healed, Jiwoo mumbled sleepily. You are healed. Yuna's eyes filled with tears, but these were different tears. These were the tears that come when something beautiful happens. When the world shows unexpected kindness, when you realize you are loved by creatures who had no obligation to love you. Yes, she whispered. I think I am. Ren watched the scene before him. The human ambassador, small and fragile by Valori standards, surrounded by cubs who had adopted her without question. It was not what he had expected when he was first assigned to be her liaison. It was better. The other colonies will hear about this, he said. Word travels fast among our people. They will know that a human suffered from isolation, sickness, and that our cubs healed her with pack bonding. Yuna looked up. Is that a problem? No. It is a gift. Ren's tail swayed with something like pride. For generations, species across the galaxy have seen humans only as warriors. They have feared your kind's ability to survive, to adapt, to conquer. They have wondered if humans feel anything at all, or if you are simply machines built for expansion. He leaned forward slightly. Now they will know the truth. Humans need love. Humans need touch. Humans need pack, just like the rest of us. They will see that beneath the fearsome reputation, you are simply people trying to find where you belong. Yuna considered this. Then she smiled, and it was the most genuine smile Ren had ever seen on her face. Good, she said. I hope they learn. I hope every species in the galaxy learns that no one is truly strong alone, that admitting you need others is not weakness, it is wisdom. She hugged Jiwoo gently against her chest. These cubs taught me that in one night. I spent 3 months building walls, and they tore them down before breakfast. The cubs purred with satisfaction. Above them, the twin suns climbed higher, warming the courtyard with golden light. The colony bustled with its usual activity, Valori families going about their days in their endless dance of connection and community. And in the middle of it all, a human sat surrounded by cubs. No longer a visitor, no longer an outsider, no longer alone. She was pack, she was family, she was home.